Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a follow-up video on the capillary schedule. I've been getting so many questions recently about the capillary schedule, so hopefully I'll be answering all of those here for you. I feel like the main topic of concern is like, how do you make your own? How do you know what your hair needs, what your hair type is, and just how do you really like build your own schedule? So today I'll hopefully be answering that question for you. As always, if you guys enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I'm there a lot more often and I share a lot more hair content there, so make sure you follow me there as well. I'll have it linked down in the description box, and let's just get into the video. So just to note, I do have a video about the capillary schedule already, which I'll have linked up in the cards for you guys, where I basically went into what it is, what each of the components are, and all of that, and I answered like the basic questions about what is the capillary schedule. So that will be up in the cards for you. I'm not really gonna reiterate much of that today, just because this might be a longer video already. Also, I am not like the beacon of knowledge on the capillary schedule. This is something that I'm also still learning about and still getting used to. I've only been following this method really for about a year now, and I still have to ask questions. I still have to look things up online. I still have to try to figure it out for myself as well. I'm just sharing with you guys what I've learned, and then of course as I learn more information I will make more videos and share what I've learned with you guys as well. According to the capillary schedule, your hair needs 3 elements in order to be nice and healthy, and that is hydration, nutrition, and reconstruction. Balance of these things, or harmony of these things within your hair, depending on your hair type and your hair needs, is what is going to give you the nice healthy hair that you are hopefully trying to achieve. So the point of the capillary schedule is to help you schedule out when you need to do those masks, how often, and which mask you should be using for your specific hair type. So the first component I'm going to talk to you about is hydration, and that is meant to restore and replenish moisture and water into the hair. Hydration treatments are also meant to restore elasticity and softness, and it's really essential for the hair. Obviously certain hair types might require it more than others, but it's something that every single hair type needs. The next component is nutrition, and nutrition is going to replenish oils and fats into the hair. So the easiest way to think of nutrition is basically just oil treatments, and the main point of the nutrition treatments are to help with volume control and frizz. So you guys know that when your hair is like a little bit frizzy, or at nighttime even, I always put a little bit of oil in my hair because it helps to smooth everything out. So that is kind of the point of the nutrition treatments. And then finally there is the reconstruction treatments, and this is to replenish the protein in your hair and strengthen it. This is really just like any protein or keratin treatment that you use on your hair. The point of reconstruction is to help restore hair mass and to strengthen the hair to prevent from breakage. So now that you know what the 3 components are, the confusing part is figuring out what your hair needs. But there are so many ways that you can kind of figure out what it needs based on your hair type, so we're going to get into that. So the first step in making your capillary schedule is determining what type of hair porosity you have. There's high porosity hair, medium porosity hair, and low porosity hair. There are a few ways that you can kind of test your porosity. The most popular way is really the strand test, or the float test I guess it would be called, where you take a strand of your hair that has already like fallen out of your head and you put it in a cup of water and you leave it for a few minutes. If it floats right on the top of the water, then it would indicate that you have low porosity hair. If it kind of sinks into the cup but stays floating in the middle, then you would have like medium porosity hair, and if it sinks all the way to the bottom, it would indicate high porosity hair. There are a lot of issues with this method. A lot of people think that it's extremely inaccurate, and I'm sure it does have inaccuracies. I feel like the best way to know your hair porosity is to know the characteristics of the different porosities and then apply it to your own hair and see what your hair feels like. However, if you're just trying to get a rough idea, you can do that and see kind of what happens and what it tells you, and if it lines up with what your hair actually feels like and how your hair actually behaves with certain products. So another test I read about is you can take a strand of your hair that's still attached and lightly pinch your fingers over it and just slide your fingers up. If you feel a lot of lumps and bumps, it's supposed to indicate high porosity hair. If you feel just a few lumps and bumps, it would indicate medium porosity hair, and if it's very smooth going up the strand, then it would indicate low porosity hair. Again, I'm not sure if that's completely entirely accurate. I feel like the best way to know what porosity your hair is to understand the 3 different kinds and be able to compare it to how your hair behaves on a regular wash day or just in general. So let's just get into the 3 different porosities. So the first one is low porosity. Low porosity hair is typically described as being healthy, and that's mainly just because of the way it looks. Low porosity hair typically looks very shiny. It's not really that frizzy, and that is because of the cuticles are lying flat and they're very tightly closed. So although the cuticles being closed might be a good thing because it makes your hair look nice and shiny, nice and healthy, it can actually be an issue because it makes it really hard for moisture or water to penetrate the hair. A lot of the time people with low porosity hair will experience a lot of dryness. Another thing to note about low porosity hair is that it's often protein sensitive. So using keratin treatments or protein treatments or protein masks on your hair can often leave it feeling really brittle, dry, and like crunchy. So that's something to consider. Of course, not every single person who has low porosity hair will also have protein sensitive hair, but it's just something that is common with that hair type. Typically with low porosity hair, when you're looking at a capillary schedule that's made for low porosity hair, hydration is like the main component. You will see mainly hydration masks and maybe one reconstructive mask, if any. Personally, for this month, I don't have any reconstructive masks in my schedule because I did 2 last month, so now I'm not doing any. I'm just focusing on hydration and nutrition. And one other thing to note about low porosity hair, once it is able to absorb the moisture that it needs, it really holds on to that moisture. So if you are able to properly hydrate your low porosity hair, it will stay moisturized and hydrated, and it will look really nice and feel really nice as well. So it's really just about making sure that you're actually properly hydrating it, which seems to be the most difficult part. Moving on to medium porosity hair, this is typically considered like the easiest to manage because it's literally right in the middle. The hair cuticles are open loosely and just enough that it can absorb the moisture that it needs and also hold on to it for as long as it needs. It's not going to leach moisture very quickly. Because medium porosity hair is in the middle, you're more likely to see capillary schedules that are more balanced. It will have a few more reconstructive masks thrown in there than you would see in a low porosity routine, and it will also have a fair share of nutrition as well. Again, not everyone with medium porosity hair is going to have the same hair needs or the same schedule, so just make sure that you are still personalizing it to your specific hair. And then finally, there's high porosity hair, and high porosity hair is typically seen in damaged hair. So a lot of the time your hair can become high porosity through heat styling, chemical processing, and just maltreatment. However, it is something that a lot of people are also born with. It's genetic, it's just a hair type, and there's nothing inherently wrong with having any type of the porosities. It's just knowing what is going to be best to take care of it. So high porosity hair, the cuticles are much more open, so this can often give the look of frizzy hair or even dry or dull hair. And the main issue with high porosity hair is that because the cuticles are open, it can absorb tons and tons of moisture, but it also loses moisture very easily. And one of the risks you run with having high porosity hair is that it can often be overhydrated and made to feel really gummy and like really stretchy and elasticy. So it's really important to make sure that you're also having enough repair in that capillary schedule to strengthen the strands and to restore the hair mass, as well as nutrition to kind of help seal the cuticles and control frizz and volume. So again, the first thing that you want to take into consideration when making your capillary schedule is the porosity type, whether you have low porosity hair that needs more hydration or high porosity hair that needs more reconstruction, or if you're somewhere in the middle. That's kind of like the first place to start. Moving on to elasticity. Elasticity also tells you a lot about what your hair might be missing, and it's something that actually helped me a lot when I first started making my own capillary schedules as well. One of the ways that you can test your hair's elasticity is to take another strand of your hair and wrap it around your fingertips like so, and then you just want to gently pull it. You don't need to tug it really hard, but you probably can't see on camera, but if you're looking at it up close, you'll be able to see your hair kind of stretching, and you'll be able to feel it like stretching and bouncing back as you pull. If you pull your hair and it snaps very quickly, that indicates that you don't have a lot of elasticity in your hair, and you probably need more hydration to restore that elasticity. If you tug on your hair and it stretches very far before snapping, or it doesn't snap but also doesn't bounce back into its original shape, it's an indication that you do have too much hydration and you might benefit from more nutrition and reconstructive masks. And then finally, if you notice that when you're tugging your hair it stretches a little bit but also still bounces back to its original shape without snapping, then it's indicating that you are in the middle and you do have a balance of moisture and protein, and you'll probably benefit from some nutrition. Okay, and then one of the final things you need to consider is how frequently you are comfortable with washing your hair. According to the capillary schedule, one cycle of your schedule is supposed to be about 12 washes. So most capillary schedules break that down into 3 washes per week. So 3 washes a week for 4 weeks would be 12 washes. Personally, I cannot be bothered to wash my hair more than twice a week. It's just too much work for me, and I don't feel like it would serve my hair's best interest. I just feel like it does much better when I'm washing twice a week, and that's totally fine. Even if you're only washing your hair once a week, you just need to stretch out your schedule to as many times a week as you wash. So For me, I wash my hair twice a week, so instead of doing 3 masks a week, I'd only do 2. So typically when I do the 12-step cycle, my schedule runs over a little bit into the next month. So for example, this month my capillary schedule for July will run into August. I think it will end like the 2nd week of August before I make my new one, which I'll be talking to you guys about at the time anyways. Just so you guys know, it is a 12-step cycle. So if you want to wash your hair 3 times a week, it is what they recommend in most blogs and stuff that do the capillary schedule. So elasticity and porosity are like the 2 main things that I consider when I'm making my own capillary schedule. And I feel like as you get used to your hair type and you learn more about it and you learn what works best for you and what doesn't, you'll start to be able to feel like what your hair needs. Like I know I can feel when my hair needs hydration, and I know I can definitely feel when my hair does need reconstruction because I don't do it very frequently. So as you learn more about the hair types and learn more about your specific hair type, I feel like it can be a lot easier each month to make your schedule because you kind of already know the basis of what it needs. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone over everything, I know there are some of you out there that are probably like, that sounds like too much work. I'm still confused, like I don't want to have to make my own, etc. And there are tons of blogs and places you can go to kind of make your own, where it'll ask you just to fill out like a hair quiz. It'll ask you the questions I've just talked to you about now. So what your porosity level is, the elasticity, what hair type you have, so whether it's curly, wavy, or straight, how often you wash your hair, all of those things. If you like heat style, if you treat your hair chemically, anything like that, it will ask you, because those are all things that you need to take into consideration, especially like if you heat style and stuff, because that can contribute to porosity. One place you can go that I used to go to a lot in the beginning was the Hair Routine website. You guys already know that I like their products. I've talked about them here and on my Instagram before, but they've based their entire brand around the capillary schedule and the method, so that is why it's called the Hair Routine. So they make masks that are hydration, nutrition, and reconstruction, and they help you on their website to fill out a hair quiz to understand when you should be using your products, and they help you build like your own capillary schedule. So that's like one place that's super easy to just go and fill in the information and then get your own capillary schedule. There's also a blog that I stumbled across that shares like 3 basic routines for each porosity type. So there's one for low porosity, one for medium porosity, one for high porosity, and I found that super helpful. I'm gonna link it down below. It is in Portuguese though, so you might have to do some Google translating. When I was preparing for this video, I found that blog really helpful just so I could get a better idea of what each schedule would look like. For example, how much more hydration there is in a low porosity routine compared to a high porosity routine. So those are some really basic starter ones that you guys can start with and then change up as you go, just to see how your hair takes it. So I'll have that link down below. I would really recommend checking that out. There's also an app that I recently stumbled upon thanks to Canadian Maine on Instagram. I'll have her Instagram link down below. She's a sweetheart and she has beautiful hair as well. She posted on Instagram about an app that she found called My Capillary Schedule, or Meu Cronograma Capilar in Portuguese, which is what I found it as. Like I couldn't find it with My Capillary Schedule. So I'll try to link that down below as well. It's a free app and it's not a perfect app. It definitely has some glitches and stuff, but it just asks you again to fill out like a hair quiz, and then it helps you to schedule out your capillary schedule. I'd also recommend following Olive_Mari on Instagram. She is super knowledgeable about the capillary schedule. I've learned so much from her. I've learned so much from her about the capillary schedule, both before I started really getting into it, and since then I always ask her questions and stuff like that, so I'd really recommend checking her out. She also helped me make my first one because I had no idea what I was doing, so definitely check her out. I'd recommend following her. She shares a lot of really helpful information as well as a lot of DIYs that you can use for each component. One thing to note about the capillary schedule, and this is something I get asked all the time, is you're supposed to switch it up monthly or at least every 2 months. What your hair needs will change as you follow the schedule. For example, last month I used 2 reconstructive treatments, which I normally don't do, but I did and it worked fine for me last month. But if I were to continue doing that this month, I'm sure that my hair would start to feel really dry and look brittle and just start to feel gross, because again, my hair is medium to low porosity. I do require more hydration and reconstruction. So as the months go on, your hair will change what it needs. So the final thing I want to talk about very briefly are the 3 components themselves and like what ingredients to look for, because I know this is super confusing for a lot of people, especially if you're not used to reading ingredients lists. So I'm gonna just have here on the screen for hydration, nutrition, and reconstruction some ingredients. Also in the description box down below, I'm going to include some of my favorite store-bought masks for each one, because I know some of you guys probably aren't into DIYs, which is totally fine. I'm going to include some of my favorite ones down below. I've also shared masks for each of the components here on my YouTube channel, so I'm organizing them into different playlists. So there will be a hydration playlist, a nutrition playlist, and a reconstruction playlist. Also, for those of you who do follow me on Instagram, I have highlights for each of the components on my page. So that is it for today's video. I've been filming for like 45 minutes. I'm sure this is going to be a long one. I hope I answered the majority of your questions. Of course, feel free to leave any other ones you have down below, and if I need to, I will definitely make another video just answering more questions for you guys. Be sure to check out the description box for the articles I used for preparing for this video. I got a lot of information from different blog posts and different articles online, so I will leave those linked down below so you guys can read them for yourselves. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!